What am I doing?
Peppy here! What are you doing, Fox? Release the spirit and get out of there! Peppy out!
Okay, I'm going.
We live in a time where people will accept anything they are given and put it on a pedestal, mainly because a series they claim to love has returned, while disregarding whether or not the quality is actually decent or if any of this bodes well for said series. Silent Hill F is the new slop the usual buffoons are claiming as the next great entry in the Silent Hill series. Yes, the feminist $70 game not set in Silent Hill in 1960s Japan, during the women's rights movement. This truly rivals Silent Hill 2 and 3 for sure, and even more laughably according to some people, this is the best Silent Hill in the series. This game is great with its Dark Souls inspired combat, with some extra clunkiness added in for good measure that fits perfectly with enemies barely reacting to getting hit, terrible dodging animations and terrible frame rate, all to ensure you that the game is well worth $70 or more if you were craving to play this return to form a few days earlier. But if you weren't convinced that Silent Hill F is a memorable smash hit like say the Dead Space remake, then maybe perhaps demonic fox arms will convince you that Silent Hill is so back. But remind me again how terrible the combat is in Silent Hill Homecoming and Callisto Protocol, while this game, along with Silent Hill 2 Remake, both get a pass for doing exactly those same things people say they hated about in those games. I guess consistency goes out the window when you're trying to own the chuds. Thankfully enough people streamed Silent Hill F to confirm precisely what I was worried about. There was an article about the game's story tackling feminist themes, and it turned out to not just be a weirdo fantasy from a journalist projecting their worldviews on the game, but a weirdo journalist preparing us ahead of time of exactly what the game would be. And if anyone is still delusional about Japanese publishers and developers, most of the big companies are indoctrinated or infiltrated by the West in some form, specifically woke leftists, which by the way control the majority of the game's industry. So Silent Hill F going in this direction is not surprising. An example of a Japanese publisher and developer being influenced by the West is Capcom. They allowed a Chinese dev studio to make a modern audience remaster of Dead Rising 1, where there was censorship, removed content, race swaps, and other unnecessary changes. And this, along with their recent DEI pandering, is why my interest towards Resident Evil Requiem is lower than the current fanbase's testosterone, except for Spear Hunter.
Feeling this way about every Capcom release, like getting the hate that I get, being called a hated shill, like just having to read the same comments over and over again, like
The story of Silent Hill F is rooted in feminist propaganda that tells the player to reject traditional values and gender norms. Hinako is assigned an arranged marriage that the good ending and true ending has to reject, which to me seems like a cheap excuse to bash traditional values and marriage altogether, using arranged marriage as a shield to push feminist propaganda about rejecting normative nuclear marriages in general. Her father is also characterized as a patriarchal, strict head of the household that treats her like crap and as if she can't live up to his expectations. And while there are some bad fathers out there, this is clearly just written this way to express how leftists view fathers and conservatives in general, and the time period of the story is just a vehicle to preach about gender norms in society. I'm surprised Silent Hill F doesn't have its new stalker enemy misogynist head running around. Furthermore, the true ending basically boils down to Hinako rejecting the arranged marriage with her running off to go find herself. I'm sure leftists will love that ending, probably why they make up most of the people praising the game, and why this slop is getting highest scores from the game's media. By the way, don't you love it when shills suddenly use review scores from journalist hacks as a way to try to silence anyone that criticizes their favorite slop of the month? I remember years ago when games like Devil May Cry Reboot, Tomb Raider Reboot, Hitman Absolution, Saints Row 4, and Resident Evil 6 were widely criticized by fans of those respective series, and understandably so. However, that's not to say that they were terrible games on their own, but as games in those series, they were lacking. Though in the case of Resident Evil 6, fans should have given RE4 criticism for barely being a Resident Evil game, and an overrated one at that, and was a big reason why RE5 and RE6 went in the direction that they did. While these games had those that defended them, most people rejected them, thus resulting in mixed reviews and sales not meeting expectations. But if these games came out today, then there would be a ton of people shilling for them and taking issue with anyone that criticizes them. You'd hear people say that Hitman Absolution is the best in the series, or DMC Devil May Cry is the best in the series. That's what would happen, and you know it's true. It's damn true. Or better yet, rewind to 2022 with the Saints Row reboot. There were people going hard defending that millennial fantasy abomination. It's sad that there's people that should know better and should want better from beloved series, willingly accept anything given to them. They'll ignore propaganda and refuse to notice patterns, all because, gee golly, there's a new mainline Silent Hill game after so many years, so off they go to support the current thing no matter what. I mean, these people couldn't even handle when the Gaming Brit show was being honest about Silent Hill 2 Remake. If you want to play a good survival horror game, then go play Siren, which was made by some people from Team Silent, who later made the Gravity Rush games and most recently made Slitterhead. But despite Siren being a very hard game, it's worth your time and probably won't cost you $70 on PS2. Though if you buy it on PS4 or PS5, it'll be less than $20. Hell, there's plenty of older horror games that render Silent Hill F pointless. Additionally, there's AA and indie horror games that are worth checking out. Point is, don't get gaslit into believing that Silent Hill F or even the inevitable Silent Hill 1 remake from Blooper Team is a can't miss experience, or that you owe it to yourself to play these games. If anything, you owe it to yourself to recognize propaganda slop and expect better from gaming. So continue doing what you've been conditioned to do, or finally cut off the puppet strings and get the F out of the mindset that the industry has programmed into you.
Get out of here, you furry bastard.
My card.
Joker,